Hey everybody, welcome back to my modern homestead. If you don't already know, my name is Janet and I'm so happy you're here. Today, as you can see, we're in the kitchen and I have the canner on the stove. Now, I don't normally keep a big cardboard box on my stove, but today we are doing carrots. And what's in that big box? Carrots. These carrots were given to me when we had our camp, our little church youth camp. Well, not little, but anyway. Food was donated for that a lot of the times, but we never had carrots. And I was looking at those carrots, I was like, no, they can't go to waste. There were actually 2 boxes, but I only had room for the one, so that's all I could save. So today, that's what we're doing. We're taking the carrots in that box and we're going to can them. I don't know how they're going to turn out because I've never done carrots that were frozen. Normally when I do carrots, I do the little baby carrots that you buy in the packs. So we're going to see, you know, if they go to waste, they were going to go in the trash anyway, but hopefully they're still going to be good to eat. So let me show you what we're going to do. Okay guys, don't mind my watermelons back here, and I've got seeds drying there from my pimento peppers that I took from the garden, but here are our carrots. Yes, some of them still have ice crystals on them, but y'all, these have been sitting out since about 5 o'clock yesterday evening, right here on my stove, and that's just the way it is. Now, when I do carrots, I just pack them into jars raw. No, this is not the tested, approved, your ball book method, but this is what I do. I'm just showing you what I'm doing today, okay? So, no canning police after me today. I'm just going to take the carrots, put them into the jars. Now, because some of them are still really cold, what I will do is add about at least 5 minutes to the canning time, but I'm not going to use boiling water over these, and I'm not going to put them into a hot canner. The canner will be, in fact, it's already on the stove. You saw it's got cold water, and my canner calls for 3 inches of water down in the bottom. It's an All-American 930. So we just pat the carrots in up to I think it was an inch head space. And then we will cover them with water. So there's that jar already done. So I will just continue filling the rest of the jars. Done is taking a kettle, and I'm not going to get this water hot, but I am going to let it get a little warm because some of these carrots are more frozen than I would feel comfortable with. So I'm going to put some warm water over them and let them sit for a little bit and let them defrost, and I will put them into the cold canner. I mean, it's not icy cold, but it's just room temperature cool water after these have set for a little while. And just put them in there, and I'm going to bring the heat of the pressure canner up slowly with these in there without the lid on, just to let them defrost more before I actually start the canning process. Now, the next thing I need to do is add a teaspoon of salt to each jar. I am using sea salt that's non-iodized. Otherwise, I would use canning salt. so that the water does not get cloudy. And these are quarts, so I am using a teaspoon. If you're using pints, use a half of a teaspoon of salt, or if you prefer not to have the salt at all, just leave it out. That will be fine too. Simply there for taste. Now you don't want this water to get to boiling, because you put that boiling water into this glass jar with those cold carrots, you run the risk of your jar breaking. So be very careful with that. When I put the carrots into the jars, I tried to put the frozen ones just on the top and bottom so that they weren't in the middle. I used the carrots that were completely defrosted in the middle. So I think we'll be okay doing it this way and then adding a few minutes time to the actual canning process. So when the water's a little bit warmer, we'll be right back. Okay, our water is not to boiling, but it is warm. So I'm going to just slowly add it into the jar up to 1 inch headspace. I'm going to leave a little extra room to come back with a little bit warmer water. I'm okay doing room temperature or even cold carrots from the refrigerator that have been out for a few minutes with just cold water right into a cold pressure canner, but not frozen. I like to be a rebel, but I do want to be a little smart about it. So I just want to make sure the carrots in the center are not frozen so that I can make sure everything comes up to the right temperature. Now remember, this is not an approved method, and I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm just showing you how I'm trying to get this big box of carrots done in a timely manner. Okay, I have water in all of the jars. So now what I'm going to do is bring some more water and make it even hotter. That way I can add it to the jars, and hopefully we'll be good to go by then. This I'm going to let it get closer to boiling. Not quite, but closer. Okay, let's top off the jars up to 1 inch headspace. These jars in the front, the carrots were not as frozen as some of the other jars. These in the back had the more frozen carrots, but like I said, I tried to put the frozen ones on the bottom and the top of jars and not in the middle. Okay, now let's debubble the carrots. You can feel the texture of them as they're already soft. They no longer feel frozen. I checked the jars back here just to make sure. We're still going to be careful, because we want to be sure. Don't want any sick people. And one other thing, I did not pack these as tightly as I normally would carrots. I wanted room for the water to really be able to get around the jar and the carrots. So, it's just one extra precaution. All I'm doing is just removing air bubbles the best I can. And when I have all the jars done, we'll be right back. Okay, now we're just going to wipe the rim of each jar. If you hear any noise, it's okay. It's just Alyssa in the back. She's getting some cherries. I want to make sure the rim is really clean so that your jar will seal when you put the lids on them and pressure can them. Okay, now we're going to put the flats on them. I have them in a bowl of water over here to the side. And I'm picky about how I have mine lined up. I like the words on the top to face the words on the front or the back. Ooh, they're dripping water. Now, once we have the lids on them, we'll put the ring on them to finger tight. Once the jar starts turning on the towel, that is finger tight and it's ready. Okay, we have the canner here. It's on the stove, but the stove is not even on. I'm touching it. It's completely cool. Water's right out of the tap. So we're going to put the jars into the canner. Okay, I'm using the jars that had the most frozen carrots in them. I'm putting them down into the water first because we will actually be able to get 2 levels of jars. I'll be able to stack another level on top. So these that are most frozen will be down in the water. Now let's talk about this water because people always want to try to call me out on it. In my manual, it says to start with 3 inches of water in the canner. Never does it say to take any water out once you put the jars in. Of course, the weight of the jars and what's in them are going to make the water displace and rise. But it does not say to take the water out. So I've never taken the water out. This is the way I've always canned. And it's the way I'll always keep canning unless All-American tells me otherwise. But having said that, make sure you check the manual of your canner and follow your canner's directions. Okay, there we go. We have 7 jars in the bottom. So I'm going to put the separator on. Sorry about that noise. And we'll put in the second level. Oops, I was 1 jar short. Didn't even realize it. Okay, that's all right. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to turn the canner on to mark number 6. It's just above the medium. And the double burner on. What I'm going to do is just let this water warm up and let these sit for a few minutes. And then we'll continue the canning process. Okay, I have put the lid on the canner. I've not locked it down or anything. I'm still letting it get warm. I'm not going to continue the process until I can feel these jars on top and they don't still feel cool. We're getting there, but the bottom of them are still cool, so I'm not ready to do anything with them yet. But when we are, I'll come back and show you the rest. Okay, y'all, don't panic. I'm going to touch these jars. I can feel they're not hot, but they are finally warm. I've been checking every few minutes to make sure. I do not want to start canning until it's warm. Is this the way you're supposed to do it? Absolutely not. I told you, I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Don't come at me, canning police. All right, so we're going to close up the canner. canner is hot. To make the space around the edges as even as possible. And lock the wing nuts on opposite sides. Okay, now check the spacing. Looking good. So now we can completely lock them down. Whoops. Canner wants to slide on this glass top stove. Also not ideal for canning, but you gotta do what you gotta do and work with what you got. Alright, now what we're going to do, it won't take long at all, is let, almost touched that, let steam start coming out of the stem. And when we have a steady flow of steam, you can feel a little air coming out of there, but it's not really a flow of steam. But when we have a steady flow, we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, we have steady stream, a steady stream of steam coming out of the vent. So we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Okay, let's put the weight on. We're going to do 10 pounds of pressure, just like that. And then when this comes up to pressure and this starts jiggling, we're going to set the timer for probably 45 minutes. Normally you would just do 30, but because I started with really cold and some frozen carrots, I just want to be sure that they're going to get to temperature inside the jar. It started raining outside. Isn't that glorious? But I'm not going to waste my time. While I've been waiting, I've been taking the opportunity to do some dusting on the blinds. It needed to be done, so let's go ahead and do it. Okay, the stove is off. Now when pressure comes down to 0 and the needle is resting on this metal stem, we will wait another 10 minutes and take the weight off. Okay, we are at 0 pressure. So let's see. Can we get it off? Ooh, a lot of air. I'm going to leave it for just a few more minutes. Let's see if we can get it off now. Still a lot of air, but not like it was. So there we go. We are able now to unlock it. Okay, when I first open the canner, this is what I always do. I just prop it open a little with pot holders and wait about 10 minutes before I completely remove the lid. That way, things aren't cooling down super fast, and hopefully it cuts down on the siphoning. What do you say we take these out and move them to the cooling table? Thank you all so much for joining me for part of my day today. If you would like to see the directions for the correct way to can carrots, please see the description box below. Thank you all so much. You know I love it when you come and spend a few minutes with me. Until we meet again, be blessed. Happy 4th!